From 2000 to 2010, we saw a threefold increase in international funding for health. At the same time, we saw an eightfold increase in funding for HIV, TB, and malaria. And part of that was attributed to the spotlight shown on those in the Millennium Development Goals. But funding is expected to plateau, reaching only $37 billion in 2018. And this stands in contrast to the requirements that I just mentioned, $50 to $80 billion for SDG 3. But the main point is that we can expect more competition for increasingly scarce resources. Even with Millennium Development Goals, with their more explicit focus on TB, HIV, malaria, we saw a marked difference in international donor funding for these three diseases. And this is totally disproportionate to the mortality that we know we see in these diseases. And it's a sustained trend over time. This is pulled from the most recent Global TB report from WHO. So how can we challenge this? How can TB be more competitive, so to speak? And one way is that we might challenge the headlines. I would argue that there may be opportunities to position TB care not as a scrappy competitor for attention in a broadening health agenda, but as a leader. The return on investment is certainly compelling. We see $43 for every dollar invested in reducing TB deaths. This is the figure that was published or derived by the Copenhagen Consensus a couple of years ago and widely publicized in The Economist. I've been talking about astronomical numbers in the clouds, $16 trillion, billion-dollar gaps, and I'd like to bring this back to numbers that are a bit more tangible and should be extremely uncomfortable. Luchika reminded us last night that a person dies of TB every 18 seconds. So I've been talking for about 15 minutes. That's 50 people in 15 minutes. In closing, I'd like to encourage the conversation about seizing this moment, this opportunity to accelerate progress in TB, funding innovation to confront resistance by challenging the headlines, acknowledging the problems, finding the opportunities, and positioning the TB response as a leader. So thank you very much.